All right, let's get into this real quick. Let's get our stuff together here. All right, here's what you need to know. There's construction going on in the background, so you're going to hear some stuff. Also, I know I'm always super late, and it's because I have to do actual law for work. You know, when a lot of you guys are like, just get on YouTube and make it happen. I get it. But like, the judges are not happy if I'm late with something. They get really cranky. So let's just get into it real quick. There are new programs, new apps, new things on cell phones that basically change the situation when it comes to how the Social Security Administration can go ahead and very easily collect data by evidence, if you will, that will essentially cause problems for you as a retired person, disabled person, supplemental security income person, DAC person, widower, etc. Okay, let's go into some of the basics real quick. But here is a quote that I think you should hear. Quote, DHS used to buy access to cell phone location information being aggregated and sold by two shadowy data brokers, Ventel and Babel Street. That's from an ACLU report on DHS practices sidestepping the Fourth Amendment protections. Quote, law enforcement and other government agencies have secretly been paying data brokers to access vast databases of personal information, including geolocation data, without any warrant, court order, or even subpoena. That was from the Brennan Center analysis on closing data broker loopholes. Then we have agencies, quote, are continuing to purchase cell phone location data without a warrant or any other legal process in large volumes. That was from the same Brennan Center report highlighting post-Carpenter v. United States practices, which was a big landmark case. Quote, federal agencies routinely buy cell phone location data from private companies. That's from Vox article on DHS. CBP and Immigration Customs Enforcement arms use location data from a company called Ventel to locate undocumented immigrants and routes they use to cross the border. Okay. Another one, and that's from Vox piece. Another one, quote, federal agencies and local police departments have begun to purchase data from specialized brokers to track individuals' activities over time. That was from a Lawfare article. Quote, U.S. immigrants and the Customs Enforcement, ICE, began purchasing access to cell phone users' digital location data through a data brokerage company, and it continues. Quote, law enforcement officers purchased cell phone location data from a private company. That was from Wake Forest Law Review paper. And then also, quote, the U.S. Secret Service bought location history data from a data broker firm. That was from blog post by Tom Kemp on data broker threats, citing Ars Technica reporting. And then, quote, agencies under the Department of Homeland Security, including Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Customs and Border Protection, have purchased access to cell phone location activity for investigations. Okay, that was Tom Kemp. The bottom line is that the government is constantly buying your information when it comes to who, what, where, what you do. Okay, now there's a lot of levels to a phone. Let's talk about what the phone can offer to the Social Security Administration. And remember, some of you are sitting there like, well, I can see how it could hurt the disabled because they want to, they don't want data that's showing them going to the gym, showing them going to like, some jet ski facility and jet skiing around. Yeah, it does. And that's true. And that's the simple version of it. But retired people, when you have repetitive movement data to a facility, they look at it and they're like, hey, this person might be working under the table. And as a result of that, they might not be getting taxed as much as they should from their retirement benefits. Let's go through this real quick. Location data. You got GPS, you got cell tower records, you got satellite records. Basically, if you want to travel to a gym, if you want to travel to a job, if you want to have activities that are like, doing stuff that would not be consistent with what a disabled person would do, like, a horseback riding arena, or for example, so many things, ice skating ring, roller skating ring. Some of you guys, look, I understand there's some things that you're going to do and there's no way around it. I get that. Gentlemen, when it comes to bacon and Harleys, I get it. I totally and completely understand it. Women, I don't understand. So it's just, we're just going to go with that for right now. Diana, thank you for the $5 donation. That's absolutely amazing. She said, I'm on your side always. I back you up quite a bit. And I super appreciate that. Because, some of the comments, some of the channel people, this is so spicy. This is so angry. This is so like, wow. I'm like, whoa, buddy. Whoa. All right, let's get into this real quick. So basically, if you are going to a construction site all the time and, you're not like a super rich person, buying a new house. If you are constantly going to like a go-kart arena, or you're going to a racetrack, or you're going to this or that, or this or that, that kind of data is going to be really relevant to the Social Security Administration and OIG, the Office of Inspector General, when it comes to investigating who you actually are. Okay. So that's your location data. Then there's call logs and contacts. So essentially, if it reveals that you're talking to a boss, if it really reveals that you have text messages talking about payments, reveals text messages about payroll, reveals text messages about basically, underreported work, unreported work patterns, where you might be selling something under the table. For example, some of you get pain pills and you sell them. That is, I'm going to be very straightforward with you, going to be a very hot topic of collected information from cell phone logs and contacts in the future. And a lot of you guys think you have burner phones and like that's going to save you. It's not, because your burner phone lives right next to your real cell phone. It's not too hard to put two together. Okay. Next one, text messages, content. So let's talk about basically how you could be talking about how you're faking a symptom, how you could be talking about how you're discussing, different things about how this worked out or that didn't work out, or this worked out or that didn't work out, such and such. Now, obviously, when you communicate with an attorney, that you have attorney-client privilege. But outside of that, when you're talking to your buddies, your friends, or this or that, yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff, they can purchase it. They have to have reasons, they have to have the warrant and stuff like that. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. That's kind of the whole Fourth Amendment plus other amendment issue that keeps popping up with this stuff. Another thing is this. I just want to put this out there. If you're going to work out, if you're going to have apps that basically are about fitness, or you're doing a fitness app, or you're part of a fitness program, make sure your doctor specifically states that you have to do that therapy, you have to do that action, you have to do that workout function, because they count steps, they do basically ride shares, they do work shares, they do exercise logs, they do basically all these things that show what your capacity is. So for example, one of these apps could store that you were able to walk for 4 hours. No, I'm just kidding. For 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding. For 1 hour. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, probably around 1 hour. For 1 hour at like 3.5 miles per hour. And then, if you're in court saying, I can't walk this distance, then you're going to get nipped in the butt. You know what I mean? Remember, a lot of this technology, a lot of these accounts, the data can be harvested. Okay. Then you also have photos, videos, audio, media, all that kinds of stuff. When you take a photo, or when somebody else takes a photo and that ends up on the web, the government has a company that collects anything that hits the grid. They collect the data and they put it basically to your digital profile. It has a digital ID, a digital profile, all that stuff. And when that happens, they basically can link back to the history of what they have on you, where you were, what you did, etc. Even if you never took the photo, even if somebody else took the photo, they're able to go ahead and scan the images and then place the photo into different profiles. And when a profile picture doesn't make sense for a particular person, but could be 5 different individuals, it gets stacked into a suggested column. Okay. Next one, browsing and search history. So basically, let's say that you are, trying to find a job, and, the jobs that you're looking for, that you're applying for may not be consistent with your impairments. So like, let's say you wanted to be an alligator, I don't even know, an alligator artist. I'm not sure where the hell that came from, but that is a job. It exists in Florida. Yeehaw. Or let's say that you wanted to be a horse eventer, or you wanted to be an oil, roughneck, or you wanted to be a spaghetti connoisseur. You know what I mean? Whatever. The point is, at the end of the day, the spaghetti thing, I mean, if you can't be around hot surfaces, slip and fall, yada, yada, then it could be an issue. But the point is with that, if you're basically looking for particular types of jobs that are outside the realm of what you could traditionally do as a result of your impairments, that could be something that they use for somebody who's already been found disabled, but could be interesting information for somebody who's applying for disability benefits. Also, keep in mind, if you're constantly searching for locations or leaving reviews at places that you should not be. So let me give you an example with that. Let's say that you claim that you can't, go and climb stairs, and, your location constantly shows you at a building where you're upstairs for, flights, and there's no elevator. That's interesting data that they can go ahead and collect. So another thing too is that they can subpoena this information. They can grab your device, all that stuff. Shelly 97633, thank you for the $2 donation. That's absolutely amazing. Let me do a big heart right there. Thank you. That's super cool. Very, very cool. Very cool image too. Look at that eye. That's awesome. It's very awesome. So, very awesome. So, okay. So here's basically another thing you have to keep in mind. A lot of you think that your cell phones are like the thing, right? So then there's email, there's apps, there's all kinds of things, but it all goes to a cloud data synced server, right? So a lot of your information is passing through this server. And usually if they need something in particular, they'll go for it. Now, the government tends to purchase things at two levels, right? They purchase a lot of stuff that they don't have specifics on, or they go ahead and basically wiretap a phone. And we've already done a video on how they wiretap and what goes into it, yada, yada. But more on that in a little bit. Before I go into that, please remember to like and subscribe. So many of you don't hit the like button, and it makes me sad. Like, hit the like button, hype the video if you can. Okay. I know some of you don't know how to hype, but if you could, I super appreciate it. Okay. Another thing too, some of the things that involve your phone, like for example, if you claim that you can't go ahead and interact with digital devices because of some sort of, actual signal coming off the device, or you can't be around it, and then all of a sudden your phone shows, continuous use, continuous browsing history, etc., that is going to be inconsistent with your claims that you're disabled because of something being emitted from your phone. Now, I want to go through something real quick. I pulled the statistics specifically on the Administrative Office of the U.S. Courts, AO, which I don't know how accurate this information is. It is a government-based group, but they tend to gray area a lot of this stuff, But it looks like in 2024, there were a total of 2,297 wiretaps, which is basically where they're listening on your phone, oral or electronic communications. It can include phones. It can include other things as well. Now, these were authorized by federal state judges. This is about 9% of an increase from 2023. So just to be clear, in 2024, the administration that was in the local courts and the local law enforcement that were in the states, back then things were very, very left-leaning. And, basically we went from 2023 to 2024, and there was a significant increase in the amount of people who were wiretapped. Now, it'll be interesting to see how bad it is with Trump, to see how many individuals he is wiretapping. And then, of course, the local counties, local courts, et cetera, and the local state groups. Now, just to be clear, that was from the 2024 wiretap report that was submitted annually to Congress under Title 3 of the Omnibus Crime Control and State Streets Act, which is 18 U.S.C. Section 2519. It gives you a bunch of details as to who, what, when, and where. But I want to go through something over here because I think there's more statistics that you should know. Okay, so just so you understand kind of this other side, when it comes to essentially, them going and basically mass buying your documentation, mass buying your information, there is no report created by Congress, created for Congress, or created by some company that talks to anybody that basically is released to the general public. And the reality of it is this: the greatest way that they're able to grab information on you and nobody would ever know is mass data harvesting. Okay. So when it comes to buying a massive amount of records, a massive amount of text, a massive amount of whatever, and keep in mind, the game then becomes, how do you link it to the person? Well, they have AI be able to do that. So just to be clear, we do not know at all, essentially, how many are actually part of the mass harvesting of data from your phone. But we do know that there is a massive amount of data that has been purchased and will continue to be purchased by our different governments. So just be aware of that. The tech companies, they will usually sell your information to another facility. That facility, which is a data broker, will then sell it to the government. Okay. Just to give you a little heads up, because I think this is important, Microsoft, just some of the data, basically had 5,560 in the first half of 2024, U.S. law enforcement demands for consumer data. Many involve non-content subscriber info and IP logs. So basically, Microsoft had over 5,500 requests specifically by law enforcement for data related to, you guys, everybody. AT&T and Verizon publish transparency records with ranges, thousands of demands annually for non-content data like call logs or subscriber details. But 2024 and 2025 figures show broad categories without precise phone record counts. Bottom line is, it looks like we are moving more towards the gray area of not knowing what the hell is going on and how it's happening going into the future. I do know every time there's a presidential election year, not saying anything about Democrats, not saying anything about Republicans, but there does seem to be an uptick of whoever's in office when it comes to buying data and learning who is saying and who is doing what. Real quick, Tambra Nicole Kendall. Thank you for the $10 donation. I super appreciate it. That's absolutely awesome. She said, I love the doggy photo, by the way. Thank you, Walter. I appreciate all the information. Absolutely. Very cute doggy, by the way. Very cute doggy. Okay, so some basic things that you need to know. Basically, historical investigations from 2022 kind of forward by the EFF or the FOG Data Science Group showed law enforcement agencies basically usually buying access for location data or brokers covering large amounts of data that they can collect. Contracts are anywhere from $6,000 to $40,000, depending on what they were requesting and how much access they could get access to. Does your phone company sell you under the bridge? Do they throw you under the bus? Absolutely, no doubt about it. Yes, 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 yes. It is a cash cow system to collect your information. They are trying to do things to go ahead and restrict the harvesting and selling of your documentation, but slow moving, probably slower than how quickly we're legislating with AI. It seems law enforcement is very happy with having sticky hands with this thing. There was a Post-Carpenter v. United States, which was a 2018 big claim, which basically required warrants for long-term historical cell site location info. So agencies at that point shifted to buying commercial location data from brokers to potentially bypass warrants. So the idea is a broker will go to your phone service group, your internet service provider. They will go ahead and buy the stuff, and they will act as the middle people, and then they will mass sell over to law enforcement so that warrants, to some degree, are sidestepped, which is disgusting. But again, you know, nobody trusts the government. I mean, if you do, you're kind of unique. You're a little special, but you know, we all love special people. We love special people. All right, here we go. So what do you need to know? As this continues to grow, as this continues to be a thing, people are getting pissed about it because they feel like they should have privacy because the Constitution essentially protects it, warrants it, gives it. So yeah, I get it. Now, I want to talk about some of the new technologies, the new apps that exist that the government can use to go ahead and collect data, law enforcement, against you, and why it's particularly spicy, because most of you have never even heard of these things unless you're into security-based tendencies. And I just want to go through some of these are like, you know, modern techniques of spying and stealing info, but they are ways that, you know, essentially they can go ahead and figure things out. Number one, they have advanced offline and basically completely turned off Bluetooth low energy BLE mesh networks. Basically, they are Android devices. They have a lot, especially Pixels, have issues with this, and iPhones. But basically, what happens is Bluetooth signals report location even when the phone is offline, in low power mode, or basically completely powered off. This is a way that the government can go ahead and figure out who, what, when, and where when it comes to your movement, even when your phone is off. And, you know, I don't know if you noticed, but most phones, the batteries, like to get rid of the battery, you can't just take the back off and throw the battery over there. These phones are built to go ahead and spy on you at this point. The next one are the SMS messages that are considered silent. They're basically type 0 SMS messages, or they're ping messages for invisible cell tower triangulation. And so what happens is this, that basically when your phone goes to send something or receive something or whatever, you know, they use a triangulation aspect of it to go ahead and figure out, based off of cell towers, exactly where you are. Modern networks use this GPS, or basically, you know, the timing of how long the signal takes to get from this spot to that spot, for very precise locations. And it kind of tells them exactly where you're at. That way, if you try to break into the country or break out of the country, they're going to know. Next one is the modern telecom protocol exploits, which are basically, these are mercenary tools. They have SS7s. Basically, if you get a chance to look it up, it's like Altamides, ALTAMIDES. What are Altamides? So there are commercial surveillance companies. They're basically, you know, First Webs, Altamides. They will go ahead and find vulnerabilities in telecom systems. Could be local, could be global. And what they do is they go ahead and query, you know, basically your data systems, and they go ahead and pull information that they can kind of steal out of it to go ahead and then sell to other people, which includes the government sometimes. Sometimes government will buy mercenary data info to go ahead and figure something out, okay? Next thing is this. Basically, when it comes to for example, you know, the location data, right, that you could potentially have, there's apps on your phone. And then, of course, you know, there's all these brokers that will grab it. So if you use, for example, an app that's like, how do I put it? If you use, for example, an app that's like, you know, it checks, okay, so it follows where you step, or gives geolocation stuff, or it's like a flight path app, or it's like a walking path, or it's like a find the Pokemon path. Those types of programs will be used to go ahead and collect location data. They'll aggregate it, they'll pull it together, and then they will go ahead and get a broker to buy it. and then they will sell it. Okay. Then there's basically Wi-Fi, Bluetooth scanning, and hybrid positioning. So just to be clear, as you know, your phone is constantly looking for, basically Bluetooth locations or Wi-Fi's that it can connect to. Just being your phone is trying to do that, it tells basically these specifically set up Wi-Fi's and these specifically set up Bluetooths where your phone is, because it's searching, it found it, it communicated with it, so now it knows where you are. And then, of course, another thing that they do is they will go ahead and create what's called a simulator. It is a simulated internet, and your phone will connect to it, and then automatically you are hacked, right? Or if you're like, hey, I wish I could just get a little internet. Oh, look, there's no password on this one. Boom, they've got access as you're going ahead and searching for things. So then there's, of course, so let me go through these cell site simulators real quick. IMSIs, which are stingrays / catchers, they detect essentially what's going on. They collect information. These tools are not super particularly new, but there is something basically called an EFF 2025 open source project. But there's tools like Ray Hunter. But bottom line is they're able to go ahead and grab your information mostly on 4G, 5G networks, and then figure out exactly where you are, what you're doing, what you're using the phone for, okay? And then you have commercial, government access to basically these location data sets. That's where they mass buy. That's where they purchase bulk data from any of these different particular groups. And so, basically Locate X is one of those groups that they use, which is Babel Street, or Penlink to map movements from where you go, where hundreds of people are. So, for example, if Iran wanted to know where all the youngsters are with their cell phones, they would use something like Locate X or Babel Street to figure out all the people that are marching and then do the horrible things that they do. By the way, if you haven't heard, please go learn about Iran and the most horrific things committed in this century. That would be on the top 10 list, right? That would be, and it's happening right now, and you're not getting any news media coverage. I mean, you're getting it from the Fox News group, but like CNN, MSNBC, you're hardly getting anything. In fact, the best information you can get at this point is from YouTube. You have people that are actually getting info directly from people that are there. It's just turning into a thing where you can't trust legacy news for anything. You have to use YouTubers to basically get what's actually going on, actual footage of the event, stuff like that, okay? So why do I tell you this? I don't tell you this to scare you. I tell you this just to kind of let you know as to what's going on in the future. You can expect that they're going to continue to grow their use of phone data to be used against you. And a lot of people, the disabled, very clearly get it. They're like, oh, wow, okay, so if I go boating, right, and then the phone shows GPS location, I'm in the middle of the water somewhere and I'm fishing, that they're going to get you with that. Or for example, let's say that you're traveling to an event such as some Harley event in North Dakota. They're going to be able to have that data. They're going to know what's going on. The point that I'm getting at with this whole structural situation is that you are maybe not aware of how connected you are to Big Brother and their ability to figure out what you're up to. And some of you are sitting there like, well, this is terrible. This is horrible. How could this be happening? A lot of this has been happening for a long time. And many of you just live very boring lives. You're just not that interesting for the point of this stuff. Or remember, and this is something I say, but I say it in a very limited capacity as an attorney, many of you are doing illegal shit all the time. Many of you are doing illegal stuff all the time. It's just not at the level that they're going to have to turn their head, look straight at you and deal with it. You know what I mean? That's the other side of it. And remember, the law enforcement, the way it works is that law enforcement moves in two ways. Way number one is they go and deal with it right away. And way number two, they go ahead and wait a while to let it build up so that when they do the charges, it actually sticks. So the point I'm getting at is you have to keep in mind these functional aspects of what happens to this, how it works, etc., and then kind of go from there. But, at the end of the day, you just have to understand, you have to be fully aware this is the way the world works now. This is how stuff is. If you're sitting back going like, hey, they don't know what I'm up to. Yeah, well, if you live like by a mountain in the middle of nowhere and don't have any cell phones, then maybe they don't. They still have GPS. They still have something where a bird can fly over and basically get a video of you. Sure. You know what I mean? They could have some sort of drone fly over or whatever. But you have to be interesting enough for them to do that, for them to spend the resources. Most of you do not live interesting lives. You're not scientists. You're not super lawyers or super doctors or super this or super that. You're not doing international trade, international sales. You're just people that are hanging out. And that's your saving grace, because they're just not interested because you are not doing things that upset the apple cart of America. So with that said, very important. Yeah, and Tambra did a good thing, good point out here. Like if you use Bluetooth to sync with your headphones, your iPad, your iWatch, your iWhatever, you know what I mean? Then yeah, of course they can use this data to collect, and then we'll know what devices you have, and then they can sync to those IPs and figure out where those other IPs have been. Okay, I hope basically at the end of the day, you are doing okay. I understand that some of this stuff is scary. It is not meant to scare you at all. It's just meant to give you an education on some of the things that work. I can go deeper if you want to know more about these specific companies, how they work. I can explain in detail what they're collecting on you if you want. I don't know if there's interest in that. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But I just think you should have a general awareness to this, because ultimately, when you're like, yeah, I'm going to go, do 18, holes of golf, you know what I mean? Like, just remember, right, as a disabled person on a course, you know what I mean? It's just, it's a big open area and people are there for a reason. You know what I mean? Just be aware of that, okay? Bill the baker said he's trying to scare you. How would I be trying? Okay, so, you're right. I can scare you now. Now what? What effect does me scaring you have? Because if people are scared, they're not going to want to know more about this. They're not going to be a part of it. They're going to be worried. They're not going to tune into the channel. So it doesn't help me with views. If people are scared, right, they're going to be like, well, to be fair, some of you need to be scared because you're doing things that are going to get you in trouble. But at the same time, like, there is no gain to me to have you be scared. There is a gain to me to have you successfully learn this information and apply it in your life. It's like when I talk to disabled people and I'm like, okay, you've been on disability for 15, 20, 25 years. Okay, good. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Okay, cool. When was the last time you went to the doctor? And they're like, 5 years ago. Well, don't expect them to keep giving you your benefits if you haven't had to go to the doctor. Well, they can't do anything. That's not the point. The point is not that the doctor can't fix you. The point is they have to have repetitive, continuous upkeep to show you're severe. Use your medical facilities to collect data. Harvest the information and the evidence you want. Come on, a little hup. All right, anyways. Last Gen said, do you practice in Missouri? We have claimants in pretty much every state, many continents, all that stuff. I'm America's most viewed, subscribed to, and clicked on Disability Attorney. With that said, I have to go ahead and do a couple more things and submit them to the SSA. I will catch you a little bit later. Please be nice to each other, and we will rock and roll from there. Attorney Walter Hnot. If you want a private session, remember, mini contract is below. Also, if you have any Medicare questions, I don't do Medicare. Give these guys a call, 339-226-6287. Again, 339-226-6287. I will catch you all a little bit later. Shelly, thank you for the $2 donation. That's absolutely amazing. And put a big heart there. Very, very cool. Excellent. She's also a member, which is awesome. Has a little badge there. I will catch you all a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night, and we will rock and roll from there. I might go live tonight to answer questions for free. I might not. It depends on how tired I am. I've only gotten about 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night this week because of all the things going on around here. But the bottom line is, I may try to do it tonight. I'll catch you a little bit later. We'll rock and roll and go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.